All right. What originally attracted you to athletics, and specifically what attracted you to college coaching as you began your career?
Well, really from an athletic standpoint, it was just an opportunity for me to compete, and I learned at an early age. I was somewhat athletic, having two older brothers, and so that probably influenced me a little bit. But I just really enjoyed the camaraderie with the other girls and my teammates, and having the opportunity to compete. So that, it's just, for me, it was just fun. It wasn't so much as me thinking, I'm going to have a career in this, but the more I competed and played, the more I saw opportunities, and so it really started out as just being fun.
Okay, and then that led to you then coaching. Was there a process in that?
Yeah, as I was competing at the collegiate level and watching my coach, I had the same coach in both basketball and softball, and just watching what she did, and it was a way for me to stay involved in intercollegiate athletics, and so I really enjoyed that aspect of coaching and teaching and having the opportunity to mentor young women. And so as I was going through my collegiate career, both academically and athletically, I knew I needed to get a degree, so I focused on that. And then when I had an opportunity to get out into the workforce, I really focused on what can I do to begin coaching. My only regret, and you got to think about this being 25, 30 years ago, there weren't many opportunities for graduate assistantships at the Division I level. If I'd had the opportunity, I would have sought out a graduate assistantship and got into the business that way. The way I got into the business is I took a job right out of college. I was coaching softball and assistant basketball and teaching at a private school, and so it was a lot different than the opportunities that they have today. You kind of had to take what you could get and then make the most of it, and that's really how I started. And I worked, so I was working full-time, and I was going to grad school and paying for my own grad school, and I wasn't making enough money in my full-time job. I also worked for a cleaning company, and I serviced office buildings at night and cleaned office buildings. So then I would get up and teach in the morning, and because I was teaching classes, and then I would go to practice, and then a couple nights a week I'd have grad school, and the only requirement I had from the other job is the building had to be cleaned by 6 in the morning. So then I would turn around and go and clean buildings from like 11 o'clock at night to 2 in the morning, and then get up and start it all over again. That's just what you did.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So then what was the process for you to transition from coaching to administrative? After you finished your classes, kind of how did you transition into that?
I coached for almost 14 years, and as I began coaching and more opportunities became available on the administrative side for women, I began to look at that. And so towards the end of my coaching career, I was doing some administrative work as well. I had picked up some sports supervision, and then I started doing compliance, and then I started handling more budgets outside my specific sport program. So it became a natural progression. And then I had an opportunity at Marshall University to move in as an assistant athletic director. And really the decision was made for me, because to accept that job, it was either all administration or nothing. And so that was the reason that I said, yes, I think I'm more suited for the administrative side of the house. And so I just had to go cold turkey and go straight into administration. It was hard the first couple of years. I missed the coaching part of it, but the longer I was on the administrative side, I enjoyed that work, and it was all encompassing. I wasn't just dealing with one sport or one aspect. I was dealing with a full complement of sports and administrators and coaches. And so really the decision was made. If I wanted this job at Marshall, then I had to give up coaching, and I made that choice at that point.
What do you miss most about coaching?
I honestly don't miss it at all anymore. Early on, I missed that competition of the winning and the losing, and that piece of it. But there's a lot about coaching that I don't miss at all.
Okay.
So.
All right. What do you feel like the challenges you faced as you kind of grew within your career, and kind of specifically, do you feel that being a woman in an administrative role, trying to get administrative positions, being a woman led to those challenges? Do you feel like you faced anything like that?
Sure. There's a lot of challenges in intercollegiate athletics, whether you're a coach or an administrator. It doesn't really matter. There's a lot of challenges, from financial challenges to personnel challenges to whatever it might be. I think that I've had some great opportunities and worked for some good people that have helped to mentor me. But I do believe in my heart that I had to work twice as hard to get to the same spot that other people might have gotten to a lot sooner. I think it took me a lot longer to get in the athletic director's chair than it took some other people. Sometimes in this business, you get cubbied whole into an area or a unit of athletics. As most people are familiar, you have financials, you have compliance, you have marketing, you have fundraising, and it kind of cycles through where universities are hiring people that are really strong in the fundraising aspect, and then they have some internal problems, so then they want to hire somebody that's really strong on the internal side of the house. And so what I tried to focus on was a broad-based education and have knowledge in all aspects of administration, from the fundraising to the internal to the compliance to the personnel. So I tried to develop a broad-based experience for me, and in some ways it helped, and in other ways it didn't, because I didn't have this overwhelming, strong commitment on the fundraising side or the internal side. But I think I've benefited from that broad base here at Eastern in particular, because at an institution our size, the athletic director does a lot more. I mean, you are hands-on in a lot more areas than you might be at a large program that has a lot of administrators, and they're all handling different aspects of the program. So I think in the long run it benefited me. I think the female question, I think you can always ask that question. I think it took me a lot longer, and I think that was a part of it. And I still believe there are pockets that you would have a hard time being accepted as an athletic director. And my one goal at some point in my career is to be described as a good administrator, not a good female administrator, and to get that word out of there.
Yeah. We're focusing a lot on Title IX's development of more female administrators in intercollegiate athletics. And since you went through, probably as an athlete, being introduced to Title IX, and then Title IX introducing your generation of female athletes then to administrative roles, do you think you could reflect briefly on how Title IX had those unintended consequences, but influences, maybe?
Yeah, you're actually right, though. There have been a lot of unintended consequences of Title IX, which would be the decrease on the men's sport size. I don't think that was the intention. I believe that with all my heart. That wasn't the intention. I think the intention of Title IX was to create opportunities for girls and women to have an opportunity to participate. I think it's accomplished that, obviously. I mean, nowadays there's so many more job opportunities for women in athletics, and it's not just coaching, it's not just administration. You look at officials, you look at broadcasting with ESPN and these 24-hour sports networks that are coming across. So I think it's created the opportunities that they intended for it to create. That being said, in Division I, there's only like 315 Division I institutions, so there's only so many jobs to go around, so the competition is really, really strong. The other unintended consequence, I think, it created more opportunities for men to coach women once the salaries started going up on the women's side. Before, early on, the women are coaching, they're not making any money, the salaries aren't comparable to what was being paid on the men's side. But all of a sudden now, women's coaching salaries are going up, and the men are going, hey, I can support a family by coaching a women's program. So early on, a lot of women lost opportunities from an administrative and a coaching standpoint because they had an opportunity, the men had an opportunity to now step over to that side because it became viable. I think that Title IX was critical to the mission of women's athletics, and just getting that information out there that, hey, this is something that's available and important. And I'm sure you're probably aware of it, starting this July, they'll begin celebrating the 40th anniversary of Title IX, and we're planning some things here at the institution to help celebrate that. The one point I want to make about Title IX, and this has been my philosophy my entire career. We don't do things because the law tells us to do it or because Title IX tells us to do it. We should do it because it's the right thing to do. And we should work to treat all of our athletes in an equitable manner. And sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't because of finances. And we have to balance all of those things out. So I appreciate Title IX for what it's done and the opportunities that it's created. But I also think we have to look at globally and make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons.
You brought up earlier that your role model as you began coaching was your own female coach, and you just now said that male coaches are becoming more prevalent for female sports. Do you worry that the future of female administrators or female coaches is going to be hampered because of the prospect of being successful with female sports and introducing more male influences into female sports?
I don't worry about it. Does it bother me a little bit? And I can give you a great example. We were recently going through a hire here at Eastern in one of our women's sports programs. And I had several female athletes come in and say, we want a male coach, because we grew up with male coaches throughout the club system. I thought that was a sad commentary, because it tells me our women historically don't understand how they got the opportunity to compete and how they got the opportunity to receive a scholarship. And I'm afraid that as time continues, we're going to forget the pioneers. We're going to forget what it took to get the women where they currently are today. And I don't want them to be stagnant, or I want to continue to grow. But I want them to appreciate how they got to where they are today. And I think we've lost some of that. And that probably concerns me more than any of the other things that are going on. It's our job to hire the best people for the position, no matter race, sex. It should be to try to hire the best person for the job. I understand all the other issues that go along with that, but I don't want to lose female leadership and female mentors for our women's programs. But understand, they're growing up in a society now where a lot of them are mentored and coached by males, and if it's done appropriately, then I'm happy for that, and they've had good experiences, then I'm happy for that.
Just have one more question. Looking at statistics and seeing the percentage of women administrators and specifically women athletic directors in the NCAA, do you consider yourself a pioneer, as the numbers might indicate you might be?
Well, I would never categorize myself as a pioneer, because there's a lot of women that came before me and had to do a lot more than what I've had to do. I benefited from those women. I'm hoping that our young women are going to benefit from me.
Okay.
And I think, there's been so much work done on this front, and there's so much more work to be done, that I hope I have had a positive role in changing things for the future, that it doesn't take a female 20 years or 25 years of experience to become an athletic director, or a coach, if that's what they want to be, or a broadcaster, whatever their job is. Again, I just want to be defined as a good administrator. And I think when people can start defining your career in that way, then I think maybe you've accomplished something. These jobs are hard to come by, and they're hard to keep, and it's a lot of work and it's a lot of effort, and the life balance issues are very difficult and challenging, but they're difficult and challenging for everyone. But it's also a great opportunity, and I don't take it lightly, and I don't take it for granted, because I know it could be absolutely gone tomorrow.
Well, thank you. That was fun.
Good?
Yeah.